Well, hello, gentlemen.
Hey, welcome to the attic again.
The attic.
Bob Strachan.
That's your partner. Yeah.
That's
we
my
need to
business
get
partner.
Bob Strachan back on
Yeah.
here.
We
Speaking
do,
of Bob
we do.
Strachan, the cool British sounding voice.
Yeah, it's becoming more southern every day.
Really? Does he
Yeah.
say y'all?
He does.
Really?
Isn't that weird?
I bet it sounds weird when he says y'all.
Yeah, I know. We've got another British guy on our team. We got two, actually.
Uh-oh.
So we're kind of, I don't know.
Well, today, gentlemen, Ken, you did a fun exercise with autocompletes on Google, which is always fun to see what people are searching for at any given time in the universe. And you put in marketing agency, advertising agency, and one of the things that we kept seeing come up was a day in the life. Advertising agency, day in the life. So apparently people think that's interesting for some reason. But I could see that.
Yeah.
It'd be kind of fun. We even talked about maybe doing a video on that at some point in the near future. That would be fun.
Yeah.
But today, let's talk about a day in the life of our agencies, our work, and what that looks like. Because, people hear us now, multiple episodes talking about Nashville and Franklin and kind of the scope of work we do and our insights. Let's talk about the kind of where the rubber hits the road. What does that look like every day?
Daily.
The daily grind, and maybe it's not a grind, but
I think we need to frame it too. Like this is a day in the life of probably each one of us, which are leaders in that way.
Yeah. What does it look like? I know we have a lot of people that are solopreneurs.
Brad's pointing at the thing, saying that it's not. It's
No,
not,
I guess
not
you're
recording.
Right. Yeah, it is recording. I just want to make sure.
It's a red button, so I think
Yeah,
it's
we're
recording.
good. Yep.
That's good. Good check though. 'Cause
Yeah, we've done that before.
We've definitely done that before. Okay.
Yeah, because there's some
Continue.
people that are solopreneurs that are just working out of their home office, and some people have small little agencies of 2-3 people working at a co-working space, and so I think agency life is very, very different across the landscape, no matter where you are and what you're doing. So who wants to go first?
Well, okay, yeah, maybe we can go around the room here, and maybe we can, give some perspective, because I think different roles have different things, right? So maybe we could say, approximately how big our team is, approximately, and then what your role is.
And we'll start with you, Ken, since we're recording in your office upstairs.
This is our attic. This is our studio space.
So talk about what this place is, first of all.
So we're in a 1920s house right now. So obviously this is Medicake. So we're an e-commerce growth team. We do e-commerce and we help create strategies and those kind of things. And
so how many square feet in the whole house?
yeah, it's about, I think it's almost 3,000-ish, maybe 2,500, 3,000 square feet. It's not that big, and it's a house in a really cool, like Franklin's a Civil War town. I think one of the worst battles in the Civil War, I think, was the Battle of Franklin, right? But downtown Franklin has a lot of history. It's just a really cool place. I think it was voted America's best Main Street one year.
Yeah.
And
when Justin Bieber does a Christmas music video.
Yeah, I think it was
like
Mistletoe or something like that.
Yeah, like a hometown.
I have all of his songs memorized, but I just can't remember what that one is.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So all American Mayberry kind of vibe, but what's different about it is there's actually businesses in the midst of this little, picturesque Norman Rockwell downtown that has very strong creative bent to it.
Just south of Nashville too, right? We're all in this similar area, but it's super creative and it's just a good vibe for what we do. But now these days, the office is mostly flex space. Most of our team is remote or working from home most times. And so we've converted certain areas of it to be more studio. We do a lot of content, a lot of media and that kind of thing. And so it's kind of been converted to a flex space in the last year since the pandemic and all that kind of stuff hit. And, we've talked about this before. I don't have to get into it. We're talking about day in the life, but I think that there's the blend of taking the pros of, working from home and taking and trying to mitigate the cons with working in office and blending those two things. I think is a good. It's been good to do that. But our office. I live pretty close to here, And my day is typically, so we have about somewhere around in the 20-ish range of people on our team, and not all right here in Nashville. But my day is typically like I have a business coach. I've had a couple of them over the years, and one of the first things we worked on, which changed kind of my day, was my morning routine. You actually call it a morning ritual. And so that's kind of the first thing that I hit during the day, is going through my morning ritual. And I don't know about you guys if you're up early or try to be up early, but especially in agency world and service businesses where you're serving people, I feel like you have to be ahead of the game, because if you start, if you just get online at, whatever, 9:00 or whenever, other people do, you're immediately behind. I find.
It's like the Marines. They had a tagline, "We do more before 5 a.m. than most people do all day."
I love that.
Remember that?
Oh man, the Marines are so great. I love that. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Well, I don't agree with. I don't do more before 5 a.m. I try to, but but I do think that the earlier you can start, and I think if you don't just wander through your morning, but you have a ritual, that's important. So my ritual is get up. I usually try and be up in the 5 a.m. kind of zone, so somewhere between 5 and 5:30, depending on the day. Different days or different things. Like today, we're here and recording these episodes. We started at 7 a.m. here. So depending on the day, there are different requirements. But start there, and I immediately do. I'm a fitness type.
What time do you go to
person. Much to my wife is a night owl, so she doesn't love this. And in fact, we were talking about it this morning because I went to it even earlier. But
you wake her up?
No, I go to sleep kind of early.
Yeah.
But I don't know of anyone that gets up early.
Well, I think if you wake up early, like at 5 a.m., especially if you have any type of exercise routine that you do, It seems like you probably are. I mean, I've done that before where I'm routinely doing that. I'm way more tired at night, and I find myself going to bed at like 9:30.
No, man, 9, 10 o'clock. I mean, I'm falling asleep at night.
Yeah.
And, I usually try and be in bed by 10. But there are times I'm not. But man, if you're getting up early and you're working hard all day, and I've got 3 little kids, and you guys do as well, and like you're doing stuff, like I don't think you should feel fatigued at the end of the day. I think that's a bad indication of health. But you should. I mean, the good feeling is like the healthy feeling is when you just feel like you've given it, and it's like it's time to go to bed now. But yeah, no, I start and. Early in the morning, the first thing I do is some nutrition. So I'm into fitness. I take certain supplements. I take a green drink, certain other supplements. I do. We've talked about this before. Bulletproof coffee, big proponent of Dave Asprey and Bulletproof and everything that they do, and that has that Bulletproof coffee. For those that don't know, it's really high quality coffee, black, with some healthy fats in it.
Mm-hmm.
That nutrition in the mornings for me changes the trajectory of my day and my mind, like how you can think. And I think that, your brain is, I'm not a nutritional expert. I don't have all these numbers, but I believe it's like when you take all the water out, primarily 90% plus fat. And so when you're talking about cognitive ability in the morning, I think that nutrition is really important, especially those good fats and things. So I do that first. I usually go on I try and get some activity. So I don't lift or work out early in the morning. I feel better when I do, but I've never had the best lifts in the morning. It just, it hasn't been the way my body's made up.
So do you go to a gym or do you do this at home?
Well, so I used to go to a gym back when gyms were open.
Back in my day, we used to go to gyms.
I think we're going to be saying that pretty soon. It's unfortunate. So Lifetime Fitness is a really cool gym, and we have a corporate. One of the perks of being part of our team, we believe in fitness, and so if you want to, there's requirements to doing it. But we help subsidize those. So we had a relationship with them. So anyway, I was going to Lifetime Fitness, great gym over here. But no, I when the pandemic hit, I built a gym in my garage.
Oh, cool.
So I have like squat racks and bars and those kind of things, some cardio equipment, and just my little, feels like back when I was 16 in the basement of my parents' house in Queens with rusted weights everywhere, and because like a lot of moisture and that kind of stuff. But I don't do that in the morning. I've tried that. I've used it. It just doesn't, for me, it doesn't work well, but I do need to get some activity. So I go on a brisk walk.
Mm-hmm.
And man, another little life hack is cold shock, so cold showers, cold plunges, those kind of things. Those are really good for your body. They release certain type of proteins and they help you adapt. So I don't
That seems abusive.
No, well, yes, your body needs to be pressured, right, in order to build.
I do that too.
Yeah.
And it could be as simple as just at the end of your shower in the morning, just go cold for a few minutes all the way, and that
at the end of it, turn it on for 30 seconds, like freezing cold, and just right on your chest.
But take some deep breaths first.
Yeah, but it there's a lot of just coming out recently. So many benefits to doing that.
Wow.
And you can look at, if you want to look up Wim Hof. He is the pioneer of that cold shock. He's defied science with how he controls his body, and it's really interesting. Anyway, the reason I say that is I try and go for a brisk walk. We're around Nashville. It's not cold all the time, but for a few months it's pretty cold, and that becomes my cold shock therapy in the morning.
Ken, I've known you for quite a while, and I would say that most people are not like this, but one thing that I found that you do, which is actually inspiring, is that you have a constant, I wouldn't say battle, but like with your mind and your body, you're constantly whipping your body into shape. Like, it's a discipline. Like, you're very disciplined about like making sure, and it takes a lot of effort and discipline. Most people don't do that. They're like, oh, give me the donuts,
right?
And so, because it's easy to pleasure yourself, and but it's not healthy for your body. But you're kind of like, I notice, and it's a good inspiration for me.
Well, it's because I'm half German.
That's right.
and I like pain and
but it is a little
and rigidity.
It does though, right? To actually be healthy and stuff, it does take a strong discipline that sometimes it takes with going without.
I mean, it gets
it's harder as you get older too.
Correct. Yeah.
I know we've talked about like doing a fitness episode and that kind of stuff. Maybe this is a little bit of that, but our culture has gotten into the habits that are really only recent to the last few 100 years, but like, before that, we didn't have donuts and stuff to wake up to. We had to wake up and go hunt a bear and bring it back, then eat breakfast, right?
I love bear.
It's delicious.
Bear sausage.
I've never eaten bear, but truthfully, like that was like, it's only recently where I've had these luxuries, and so I do think. It's not my opinion. I listen to a lot of people, and Sean Stevenson is a really good podcast, the Model Health podcast, and there's others, but Dave Asprey is a great resource. But we've taught our bodies to do they're made for a different type of thing, after centuries, and so now we've been doing it the wrong way, and that's why we have we've got insulin resistance and obesity and higher we've got the best medicine that we've ever had, right, that we know of, yet we've got all of the critical illnesses are progressing worse. Mental illnesses, diabetes, cancer, all these things, like they're getting worse. So so clearly, like, medical technology is not necessarily helping that. So what's wrong, and many people believe what's wrong, is really our daily routine, how we look at, and not because we're doing anything wrong, like how we look at the foods that we eat, eating carbs in the morning. Like I grew up on cereal every morning. Turns out like that's not actually really good for you. It's really good for you, some healthy protein and some fats and doing some intermittent fasting, which I do all that. So I don't eat. Every day is different.
But the bulletproof coffee that you drink helps with the intermittent fasting.
That is
right?
That is my morning life hack. It has been one of I'm the type of person that I've tried. I am interested in gains and growth, and so I've done every supplement throughout my life. That has had the biggest impact that for me on my daily routine of anything.
I found that with my makeup, for some reason, I don't really need breakfast. Like, I like it. If it's there, I might go out. It's fun to go out for breakfast and hang out with people or whatever, but I don't need it. Just coffee's fine. And I can do intermittent fasting where I could fast until lunchtime. What I find is I'm less tired during that time because I haven't carved up,
Right.
you know?
Okay, so it's not just your body, at least most wouldn't say. It's that you've become metabolically flexible.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well, I like that word.
yeah, because I know you do keto and that kind of
At
thing.
times I do.
But that is one of the conditioning. It takes a while to condition your body, but when you condition your body to, I heard someone recently use the metaphor of carbs are like kindling on a fire, and fat and proteins like putting a log on the fire. And so when your body's conditioned to only burn kindling all day long, you can't fast. Like, you feel hungry, like it's burning out, right? It's bad. But if you condition your body, it takes time to start burning logs. You can put a log on the fire in the morning, which is good fat, and you're metabolically flexible, meaning you don't have to eat, and you're fine. You're able to go longer.
So
Yeah.
this routine, I know we were talking about your agency life, but I've known you for quite a long time, in your physical and spiritual makeup and what you're trying to do with your body seems to have a huge impact in your work life, right?
I think
your
that it's
agency life.
critical.
It's like your fuel. Like, it's like a car that, it's, if you put the right fuel, if you put water in your tank, you're just not going to go very far.
It's like you got to train to be a pro in your sport.
I think so.
Yeah.
I believe that. I didn't. I've sort of fallen into it because my entire life I've been interested in that thing. I've always been part of sports and fitness and that kind of thing, even before I started businesses. But as I've grown up and even learned from other people, and you can listen to people like Tony Robbins, those kind of things, like who I think is amazing. But you start to learn that everything flows from how your physical and mental ability is made up. And so, I think it's I wouldn't put it on everyone. Everyone's different, but like, to me, I believe it's my job to be at my peak physical fitness so that I can, mentally too, spiritually too. Like, I don't think it's just physical body, but I think mentally and spiritually, like, you've got to be at your peak to perform at your peak. So like, if I want to be the best at what I'm supposed to be, I've got to train that way. If Tom Brady doesn't become Tom Brady by eating donuts every morning and, staying up, binging on Netflix every night. Like, it doesn't happen. Right. So in order to be the top, I think that you have to train like it. Training can mean different things to different people. Although my personal belief is that physical training, mental training, spiritual training are kind of critical. I don't think anyone can go like, I don't need the physical thing. Like, I don't need the spiritual thing. I think they all made up. Maybe you're doing fine, but I think you could probably do better if you were, like, when it comes to things like dealing with stressful situations or just having the endurance for the day, when you're physically fit and mentally fit and well slept and all those and all those kind of things, then you can endure the day. You can have energy throughout the day. There was a period of time that after my first child was born, it was a shock to my schedule, and I basically gave up working out for 6 months or something like that. And it was such a stark contrast. Like, I was tired all the time. I wasn't mentally clear. I wasn't able to deal with difficult situations extremely well. I noticed the difference. And I never went back. I fixed that because the schedule's hard. Like, when you have kids and you have a business, or you just have a business or you just have a family, like that's hard schedule. Like it's really hard to schedule things in. I mean, you have to get up at 5 a.m. You have to, decide not to do Netflix if you want to be physically fit to do that. Cause like, it's not like you can just, your schedule is filled, and it's kind of like a calculus equation. I literally sit down and create my day schedule in blocks for my entire week. And I sit there and I'm like debating things. I'm like, what's more important? I need to do this thing. Like
that's smart though, because then you're able to prioritize and see it all in the scope of things. I do the same thing where I have my calendar available for employees, and they'll slot things in from time to time. And if I have to move it, I just tell them, hey, I can't make it. But they have carte blanche to be able to add things, certain people, from time to time when because they have to set up meetings and things. But other than that, I don't actually do to-do list.
Yeah.
I actually put time in my calendar. If it's not in my calendar, I block out time. Otherwise, I will never get to the end of my to-do list. So,
well, do you have a to-do list and then you schedule the item? Like, you have kind of what you need to do.
Yeah. I mean, if it's on a to-do list, it's actually a slot in my calendar.
Right.
Because I have to.
Well, I have to. If it's not scheduled, it won't get done.
Correct. And so,
usually you'll underestimate it. Like, I can do that.
That little hack right there, which you guys just said, is huge. Like, I think we, especially in agency life, because if you do open your calendar, which a lot of us have to, because we work inside of an environment where other people are dependent on us, clients are dependent on us. And I found what you just said, Brad, is make sure you put your to-do list in your calendar with an allotted amount of time that's blocked off. Because otherwise, what happens 99.9% of the time is you have 10 things to do, and then your calendar's out there open to everyone saying, oh, Bob's got 3-4 extra hours today. I'm going to book a meeting. And before you know it, the morning might be half over. You look over, you start your to-do list and say, oh, I don't even have time to get to these things. And just get in the habit of every day putting those to-do list, allotting the time and blocking them out on your calendar.
And even if you just block out time to say, listen, this is for all the miscellaneous stuff that I still have to catch up on that I don't even. Just
block out a few hours.
Just block out hours every single day.
I mean, we could probably, this episode could probably be 2 hours long. There's so many layers to that, because I think that you need to, especially if you're a leader, like if you're leading something, all these things that we've talked about, I think are critical. Like you need to be healthy and all that kind of stuff, and you need to have endurance, but then you have to intentionally make up your schedule. And I think what I've found is you've got to figure out what for my role, what does success mean? And then what are my goals business wise? And then how does that translate into actions, like things that I work on? And typically you're not doing one thing, right? Like you have probably a bunch of different roles. I've found that you have to like literally template out your schedule, say, hey, I'm going to have time for this thing over here. Maybe I have to do, accounting stuff or sales stuff. I can do sales stuff on Wednesday morning. I'm going to do this. I think you have to make that up in a strategic way. You have to think about, when am I peak mental ability and when am I not? For me, afternoons, like in the morning, I'm super creative. In the afternoons, I'm not as creative. It's not an energy thing. It's just a difference in what's going on in my brain. So I schedule all the meetings in the afternoon so that I can do content stuff in the morning, because that's part of my role. Like the content creation stuff. So I don't do meetings. Try not to do meetings in the morning, and most people know to schedule me in the afternoon. But my point is like doing that. Going into every day. So, I mean, this is not the Ken daily routine show here. I just want to make a point that I think that some of the intentionality about fitness and then nutrition and then spiritual health, I'm a person of faith. I believe that having a relationship with God has so many practical benefits on top of that. So whether or not you have that, having something beyond you that you believe is in kind of more in charge of this thing, to me has practical benefits, because it's like you can release the stress of a lot of what's going on. And so anyway, the spiritual side of things, I think is important, that whether it's meditation, clearing your mind, whatever that is, doing that before everything gets going, centering yourself provides a lot of clarity for the day. I think that's important. And then a couple days a week, I schedule time for learning. So it's like furthering, reading, taking courses, just kind of like absorbing that kind of stuff. That's all before, I think for me, like before 8 a.m. And because 8 a.m. I start planning my day. I say, okay, like what are the 3 things that I need to accomplish today to hit my goals? To your point, Brad, like what are 3 things? And you can't do that once the day starts because you'll be reacting the whole day. You have to, if you want to lead something, you've got to be proactive.
Exactly. You got to be intentional. Otherwise your business will run you. And
especially in this world.
Yes. And your clients will run you. And if you're not intentional, then you're just reactive. And man, that's a very stressful life.
It is so easy to live your
get out of
entire
shape,
life.
You get
reactive.
tired, you're exhausted, you're mentally
Here's the worst thing about that. My biggest fear is I'm going to be 80. I'm going to look back and be like, what the heck? All I did was react the whole, I didn't do what I felt like I was supposed to do. Yeah. I'm in the same place, That's one of my greatest fears is that. And it's not from an achievement standpoint. I think I definitely have that in my personality, and I've had that maybe a little less mature version of that in the past. But I think it's more of like, you feel like you have a purpose in life, right? Like you feel like you've got certain talents. You don't want to look back at the end of your life. At 80 wouldn't be the end. It'd be probably 120, right? You look back on 120 and seriously.
Yeah.
And then you look back
I'm planning on living that long.
And you say, it would be horrible to feel like, oh man, I had this talent. I had this drive. I had this thing I felt like I should have done. I never did it because I just reacted all day long. Like a fire happened. I put that fire out. Like the crazy thing is I talked to my team about this. I believe reacting is kind of a drug that we actually crave. It allows us to procrastinate the things that are important but not urgent. We've talked about the Eisenhower matrix, the important, urgent, important, not urgent. Important, urgent, and urgent, not important is like all of your daily agency life, I think, for most people. Important, not urgent, my coach calls it the money box. But that's like all the things that are really gonna, do something big and take it to the next level. They're not gonna be knocking on your door, the next product, innovating your product, like trying to get your company to where it's supposed to be, or doing investments, organizing your finances, whatever. Those are things that are not going to knock on the door. If they do, it's probably too late. Usually, like just even your marketing and your sales and like all that kind of stuff, like just practical business things. Those things are not knocking on. They're not urgent. And I think that the way I've found you avoid that is you decide what it is important for your day before your day starts. Because as soon as your day starts, it's just like, you could react all day long.
What I hear the theme going through your day or morning, I guess we haven't got to the day, is that mind-body connection.
Day's boring.
Yeah, the mind-body connection. And I think we can't emphasize that enough. And I think you would echo this too, Ken, is I think we live in a society, and especially what we call postmodern, Western America, is there's such a priority put on the mind and performance and the brain. And yet that mind-body connection cannot be emphasized enough. And I think we're learning more and more of that, right? So I was talking to actually a relative of mine, a nephew, the other day, and he called, and we share similar personalities, and he's in his 30s now, and he was saying, I am just so stressed out at work. I don't think I can continue this position. And he's thinking, I think he's engaged now, and just the pressure had gotten to him, right? And I just told him, I said, look, you need to stop what you're doing right now. You need to go outside, and he's working from home. You need to walk around the block a couple of times, and I want you to do some body weight push-ups and just jumping jacks, and then call me in an hour. And he called, and he's like, yeah, you are so right. I was stupid. I have a clear head. I'm back on track now. And And I think we don't take that, we don't see that enough because we're in our chairs, we're on Zoom, and we just think, oh, I got this, and I got the mindset. And in the meantime, we're eating crap, we're not exercising, we're overweight. And I'm speaking to myself a lot of times. But when I get in that rhythm, like you're talking about, Ken, the body is connected to the brain, and you cannot perform and be successful unless you understand that mind-body connection.
Your brain is an organ, right? Yeah. Like it is affected the way the rest of your body is.
But it's connected to the rest of your body. Right. Like your eyes are part of your brain, right? Your spinal cord is part of your brain.
When you feel down and you feel a low energy and you feel not enough and not worth it and depressed or stressed, that is a result of, or can be influenced by activity or by doing things, right? Because it's all biology. But I do think you're right. Like, I think our culture has separated,
absolutely,
or maybe not even intentionally, but like the assumed connection between what I do, what I eat, the actions I take, and how I feel. That's been broken.
Yes,
and
you see that
crazy.
You see that connection still exists in a lot of cultures, but it goes back to evolutionary biology of what you were talking about earlier. Is, oh my gosh, there's a saber-toothed tiger. I see him, he sees me. I'm going to react, and I'm going to go run for 3 miles, climb trees, hide under rocks, and get away from him. Well, at the end of that time, you might still be scared, but I guarantee you have worked out in your body that anxiety and that stress because you run 3 miles, you've changed, you've run up into trees, and you've hide under rocks. Now, that's an extreme example, but how many of us look anxiety, fear in the face every day, but we never move. We never react. We just keep compounding it. And your body is going, oh my gosh, I want to move. I want to react. I want to release endorphins. I want to, whatever it may be. And in certain cultures, and not to go down a rabbit trail, but you see, people doing rites of passage. You see them running every day. You see them, and you see it in animals, right? Like if a deer on the African plain is being chased by a lion, what will happen is that deer will run, and let's say the deer gets away. What you will see many times these animals doing, they'll go underneath a tree somewhere, they'll sit down, and you'll see their bodies shake and quiver and move, and sometimes they'll act like they're running in place. What are they doing? They're working out the stress, the anxiety they just experienced, and then they go about their way. We don't do that as humans. We've lost that. And so that's what you're talking about is when you work out, you eat right, you move, you go take a brisk walk, you cold shower. What you're doing is you're releasing and helping your brain to be optimal, function.
And look, life is not about being rigid, and I think enjoying it is a big part of.
I think that's
to do. Part of why we're made, and so we shouldn't be doing things like this. This shouldn't feel like a task list to you, but I do think like whatever it is for you, the point here is be intentional and understand that whatever you do, a lot of how you're going to feel and perform is a result of that. So that might be good or bad. And, I know it's always surprising to me a little bit, but I understand it. Like, people tell me how they're not feeling great or, mentally clear or all those kind of things. And because I go through those too, but I immediately look towards first, like, well, like did I sleep? Was I sleeping? Did I eat well? Have I not been moving? Have them. And at least, because it's usually a result of that, and that doesn't mean it's not you did something bad, but just knowing that connection is important. So it's not like you're in control of that. I think is the point. Like if you don't, for the most part, if you are not feeling well, like you have the power to change that. A lot of people don't realize it. They're like, I just every day, I'm in this depression or that kind of thing. Like there are things you can do to change that. One of the biggest things is moving. I will tell you, like, I would suggest, in my opinion, work out and lift weights because muscle is important. It changes your biology and on a lot of things, but work out, lift weights, but do it as early in the day as you can because it is everything after that point. Like you will think more clearly. You'll have more ideas. You'll be more creative. You'll be low stress. You'll be higher ability to make quick decisions, which is critical to a leader. All these things will happen after that. You'll be better than before it. I mean, I've had situations where we all have stressful situations. I'll be kind of anxious about it beforehand. I'll go into a workout and I will have had automatically through the workout a bunch of ideas, and I'll feel much more calm after it.
I find that my brain,
so crazy.
My brain works so much better when I'm active. Like if I'm running, if I go for a run, I'll come back and I feel like I've solved all the world's problems. And it's kind of both. It's like the exercise. You know, Steve Jobs used to always go for walks, and he would walk and talk and think. And when he would talk with somebody, it's like, hey, let's go for a walk. And I think that just that active motion helps you think better and have more clarity. So once you do your workout and your 5 a.m. and you get up, what time do you actually get into the office, and then what does that look like for you?
To me, that for me, that is where that's the less interesting part of it, which is kind of, I think, and it's funny how I this is true in a lot of things in life. It definitely has been what I've been taught, learned, and observed in my life is that all the setup stuff is like really the key to like, and then you can run about your day, and it doesn't matter as much, at least in my experience, a lot of people I know have experienced. So we do a daily stand up, which I would recommend to everyone. It's basically our entire production team, and everyone has to come. It starts at approximately 8:45. Everyone has to come with their top 3. So my goal is to have everyone doing some version of planning before the day starts, based on what they believe their responsibilities are, and then we discuss it, and there's one person that runs it, and helps to make sure that everyone's 3 are aligned with the global things that need to be done. So there's some adjustments and things that have to be made. The goal with that is to have everyone have ownership of the intentionality of like what they're doing, and then also a kind of accountability, and also just ability to like say, hey, I know you said this thing, but I think this thing's important. Like, let's discuss that. But ultimately, like, you want to be able to accomplish things. Like, I think it's we all know that feeling of when we have a never-ending task list that doesn't feel like it's checked off, and a lot of that is really the art in creating the task. Like, I found you might say make sales calls. Like, you can't really check that off. It can be, it's a period of time, that kind of thing, but it's better if it's like, reach out to this person, write this email, whatever it is, because you can check those off. It doesn't require strategic brain power, so you can put all the brain power into the thing. And the goal is then you kind of assess, to your point earlier, of like what things take, like put them on the calendar so you're not, like if people aren't moving forward in what they're doing, if they're not accomplishing things, ultimately they're going to burn out and they're not going to be motivated. So you need to have that movement. I think human beings need that movement. So the goal of that stand-up is to help create that alignment and that and the ability to have that movement throughout the day. I'm not always on those because sometimes I have other responsibilities and things, but our team is always on those. And then for me, the rest of my day is I try and do creative stuff in the morning. Every day is a little bit different, but I do a lot of content, podcasts, those kind of things, writing. And then I try and do meetings in the afternoon. And I do a workout midday. So I do a workout at approximately lunchtime. At different, my schedule. I try and make every day of the week the same every week, but
so you go home at lunch and work out in your gym, or do you go?
Some days I work at home. Some days I work here.
So you just kind of like do like,
and I try and align it around my workout. So yeah, I will go home now, or I would, in the past I would go to a gym for that period of time. And I've told you this before. For me, I've in the past felt guilty about it, and it's such an ignorant frame of mind, in my opinion. But I think you got to feel like, hey, this is important. Like, you can only work from this stuff, and so. I want everyone should be doing that. Like, you shouldn't get less done. You should get more done if you do it. But, prioritize that, and I try and do that. And then I lately I've been trying to get out. I try and finish up earlier in the afternoon because kids are out of school, and like ultimately, like, the reason why we do all these things is so that we can kind of enjoy whatever it is that you enjoy. But, for me, like obviously my kids are a big part of that. So try and get finished up by 3 or 4 o'clock is my goal.
Yeah, I think that's a really important piece of all of this is prioritizing relationships and family. And I've been at times in my career where I didn't do that. And it was definitely detrimental to my family, my relationships, but ultimately at the end of the day, my performance in my business, like business will suffer in ways that you think you're working overtime, you think you're giving it all that you have. But when you look back, like you said, when you're 80 or so, you don't want to be saying, wow, I built a really big business and your family's obliterated. You don't have relationships with your kids. I mean, that's my fear.
I asked my father, who's now in the 70s, I said, what is one thing that you would change? I asked him maybe 10 years ago, and he was in his upper 60s, and he said, I wouldn't work as much. I wouldn't have worked as much. His work really consumed him. He was in a kind of a high stressful position. So
I heard someone say, like, on their deathbed, no one ever said, I wish I would have worked more.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? But you say other things. And look, I do think that it's part of the challenge of life that, sometimes you've got to go out, you've got to plow the field, you've got to work hard, and there are sacrifices. And I think that, just because you're working hard and you have a family and maybe you don't see them a little bit as much as you like, that doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. I do think that if you're able to, though, like the goal is eventually, you want to be enjoying the things that you can enjoy in running your purpose. And so maybe there's a period of time where you have to do those things, and you do those things, and you should. I don't think that's bad. I think it's bad when you don't think about it.
Yeah.
And when you just end up a place. And I think that's what I've learned is like, and I don't do all this stuff perfectly. I don't want it to sound like that, but my goal is I don't want to just end up in a place, I want to try and be strategic and intentional about how that's made up. And so, I try and get done and wrapped and I coach soccer right now. My kids are like at an age where they're in those. So we have practices and those kind of things during the week, and it's nice outside, and we play, and we're big Preds fans, and so like we watch Preds games at night, and sometimes trying to go to them. But there's that type of stuff. I would say this: there's something about the end of the day that is a bookend to like the beginning of the day, and I've learned this, and it's opened my eyes, and I try to do this. I'm not as good at the end of the day, but I think that if you can, a lot of times I say like the way you end your day, that's the last thing you're doing is the thing that your body will carry that into sleep. So subconsciously you'll be chewing on that. So like could be if you're binging Netflix, your body's gonna be ruminating on the problems of that
story,
you're watching,
right.
The story. So you can use that to your advantage. And if you really want to optimize, like you can kind of bookend your day. There are some supplements that are great for sleep. So sleep is critical to all this type of stuff. And I take a few supplements that they're not sleep aids. We were actually talking about them yesterday at the Vineyard when we were hanging out. But there's things like zinc, magnesium, those kind of supplements that if you're deficient, you don't sleep as well. There's also other things like eating late, which I try not to eat late. In fact, I generally will fast most of the day for most days, and eat 16 hours after 16 hours of a fast. Sometimes I'll go even one meal a day, and so typically like we'll eat dinner together, obviously, but I'll eat one dinner usually, and sealing up, not eating anything. Maybe there's some good teas for at night. But then if you can, I think whatever it is, like, me and my wife hang out at that time after the kids go to bed. But the goal is like, if you can end your day thinking about, or just starting to think about the next day, and it's not about working all the time. It's just about what does your next day look like? It doesn't even have to be work related, but kind of thinking about that versus just letting yourself drift off into, a show until 1 a.m. or whatever, that can help you. Now, I don't do that every night, but I think that where I've got things like, let's this podcast that starts in the morning, like I'll typically like jot down some thoughts the night before, and your brain actually, there's some research that says your brain actually kind of starts to solve those problems
absolutely
throughout the night, which is kind of interesting.
So you're saying if you have something like you need to prepare for, you can subconsciously prepare for it even in your sleep. So you're maximizing that.
Yeah.
Especially if you get good REM.
Totally. And I mean, we've all felt that, right? Like when we were talking about working out earlier and like solving problems. Like I know when you do mundane things, there's some science that goes towards this. But when you do things like wash the dishes or cut the lawn and those kind of stuff, it allows your subconscious mind to start solving problems. And I don't know about you guys, but when I do those type of things, I'm solving problems.
That's the same thing when I
literally
run
happens
too. It's an activity that doesn't take brain power. So my brain then starts to be able to go other places and starts to do work.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some techniques, and we'll kind of end on this. And Ken, thank you for sharing
taking up the entire time.
No, this is good. A day in the life of Ken. I think we should all take turns, maybe the next few episodes.
Well, we probably have to now.
Yeah, talking about our lives.
Mine will be 5 minutes long. Wake up.
I kick ass and I go to sleep.
To work, go to bed, wake up. No, it's a little more.
I don't even know what I did yesterday. Can't remember.
Sometimes I do feel like that.
Well, guys, thanks for this time, and Ken specifically. This is really helpful. Thank you for specifically. I think the takeaway for me, and hopefully for others, is that mind-body connection. So important. Perform, train like an athlete in order to be the best at your position, your job as a leader, etc.
And hopefully this is helpful. I don't want to seem like I don't do this perfectly, but I put a lot of mental energy into trying to make this stuff happen. And I think that is the important thing to take away too. So like, be proactive, not reactive. Especially in the agency world, I just think that you can be reactive for your entire life, and you can end up just where you end up. And that's not usually a good place.
Yeah,
so
that's good.
That's good stuff.
All right, guys. Until next time.
See you.
See ya.